الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Hi everybody. When people think of Europe, Islam is rarely the first thing that comes to mind. But in the heart of the Balkans, there is a city that quietly challenges that idea. Welcome to Tuzla. Located in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Tuzla is a European city where around 70% of the population is Muslim. Here, Islam is not a small minority or a hidden identity. It is part of daily life, culture, and history. Walk through the streets of Tuzla and you will notice something different. Mosques stand proudly among modern buildings. The call to prayer blends naturally with the sound of city life. Faith is visible yet peaceful, strong yet calm. This is not a new phenomenon. Islam has been rooted in Tuzla for centuries, shaping the city long before modern Europe took its current form. Generations have grown up here as Muslims, passing down traditions, values, and a sense of belonging. What makes Tuzla truly fascinating is not just the numbers, but the reality behind them. How does a Muslim-majority city function inside modern Europe? How do its people balance faith, freedom, and contemporary life? Tuzla is more than a city. It is a reminder that Islam has a deep, living presence in Europe, and its story is far from over. And this is only the beginning. To understand Tuzla today, we must travel back in time. Long before modern borders and nation-states existed, Tuzla was part of a powerful empire that would change the region forever, the Ottoman Empire. In the 16th century, Islam arrived not as a sudden force, but as a way of life that slowly blended with the local culture. Mosques were built, schools were opened, markets grew around places of worship. Islam became more than a religion, it became the social foundation of the city. Unlike many places where history erased religious identity, Tuzla held on. Even through wars, political pressure, and changing regimes, the Muslim population remained deeply connected to their faith. Islam was practiced quietly when necessary, openly when possible, but never abandoned. What makes this history remarkable is continuity. For more than 500 years, Islam has existed in Tuzla without interruption. Generations were born Muslim, lived Muslim, and passed that identity forward, even during times when being Muslim was not easy. This is why Islam in Tuzla feels natural, not forced. It is not a trend, it is not a revival, it is a living legacy. And yet the story becomes even more interesting when we look at how this ancient faith survives and adapts in the modern European world. Because history explains the roots, but the present reveals the real strength. In Tuzla, mosques are not hidden behind walls. They stand in the open, alive, active, and deeply connected to the community. From early morning until late at night, mosques in Tuzla are more than places of prayer. They are centers of daily life. People gather not only to worship, but to learn, to talk, to help one another, and to stay connected as a community. One of the most iconic examples is the Haji Hassan Mosque, built in the 16th century. It has witnessed centuries of change, empires rising and falling, wars and peace, yet it still stands, serving the same purpose it did hundreds of years ago. Here, the call to prayer is not a disruption, it is a rhythm. During Friday prayers, mosques fill with people of all ages, elderly men who remember difficult times, young professionals balancing modern life, and students searching for meaning in a fast-changing world. What is striking is how natural it feels. Faith does not compete with modern life in Tuzla, it coexists with it. Mosques sit beside cafes, schools, and offices, showing that Islam here is not isolated from society, but woven into it. This is where faith becomes visible, not through slogans or politics, but through everyday actions. And yet, beyond the walls of the mosque, another story is unfolding, one about diversity, coexistence, and peaceful living in a Muslim-majority city. That story begins next. Being a Muslim-majority city does not mean Tuzla belongs to only one faith. Here, Muslims, Catholics, Orthodox Christians, and others live side by side, not in separation, but in shared spaces. Streets, schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods are places of daily interaction, not division. In Tuzla, it is normal to see a mosque, a church, and a cathedral within the same area. Religious identity is respected, but it is not used as a weapon. People are known first as neighbors, colleagues, and friends. This coexistence did not happen by accident. It grew from a long tradition of tolerance, shaped by history, hardship, and the understanding that survival depends on unity. Even after the painful conflicts of the past, Tuzla chose a different path: dialogue over hatred, coexistence over fear. For Muslims in Tuzla, faith is practiced with confidence, not defensiveness. Islam here does not isolate people from society. Instead, it encourages responsibility, respect, and social harmony. What makes Tuzla unique is not just that Islam is strong, but that it is calm. There is no need to prove its place. It already belongs. And as the city looks towards the future, the next generation carries a powerful question. What does it mean to be Muslim and European at the same time? The answer begins with the youth. In Tuzla, the future of Islam is not found only in history or tradition, it is found in the young generation. Young Muslims in Tuzla grow up in a unique space. They are deeply connected to Islam, yet fully aware of the modern European world around them. They study in universities, work in global industries, use social media, and speak multiple languages while still holding on to their faith. For them, being Muslim is not a barrier. It is part of who they are. You will see young Muslims attending Friday prayers and then heading to cafes, libraries, or creative spaces. Hijab and jeans, Quran and smartphones. Tradition and innovation exist side by side, without contradiction. Of course, challenges exist. Questions of identity, stereotypes about Islam, and pressure from global culture are part of daily life. But instead of abandoning their faith, many young people in Tuzla are redefining it, showing that Islam can be confident, intelligent, and forward-looking. They are not asking whether Islam belongs in Europe. They are proving that it already does. And as these young voices grow stronger, the presence of Islam in Tuzla becomes more visible, not through conflict, but through culture, ethics, and everyday life. One moment each year makes this presence impossible to ignore. That moment is Ramadan. In Tuzla, Islam is not only seen, it is felt. And nowhere is this more powerful than during Ramadan. As the sun sets, the city slowly changes its rhythm. Streets grow quieter, families gather, cafes adjust their hours. Then the sound of the adhan rises, soft, calm, and deeply familiar. It is not just a call to prayer, it is a signal that the city is breathing together. Mosques fill with worshippers. Young and old stand side by side in prayer. The air is filled with reflection, patience, and hope. Ramadan in Tuzla is not private. It is a shared experience that shapes the entire city. Acts of kindness become more visible. Food is shared. Neighbors help neighbors. Charity increases. Faith turns into action, and belief turns into responsibility. What makes this moment unique is its normality. There is no tension, no fear, no need to explain. Ramadan is accepted as part of Tuzla's identity, respected by Muslims and non-Muslims alike. This atmosphere shows something powerful. Islam in Tuzla is not loud, aggressive, or political. It is rooted, calm, and human. Yet even with this harmony, challenges remain. Modern Europe is changing fast, and Muslim communities must adapt without losing themselves. Those challenges come next. Islam in Tuzla is strong, but it is not without challenges. Like many Muslim communities across Europe, Muslims in Tuzla live in a world shaped by rapid change. Globalization, media narratives, and political debates often place Islam under constant scrutiny. Questions of identity, loyalty, and belonging are never far away. Stereotypes still exist. Islam is sometimes misunderstood, reduced to headlines rather than lived reality. Even in a city where Muslims are the majority, these external pressures can influence how people see themselves and how they are seen by others. Modern life also brings internal challenges. Balancing faith with technology, consumer culture, and individualism is not easy. Younger generations face choices their parents never had to confront. Yet the response in Tuzla is not isolation or rejection. It is adaptation with dignity. Islam here continues to emphasize education, dialogue, and ethical living. Community leaders focus on guidance rather than control. The goal is not to resist modernity, but to engage with it without losing core values. This quiet resilience is what allows Tuzla to move forward, not by erasing faith, not by forcing it, but by living it with confidence. And as these challenges shape the present, one final question remains. What does Tuzla represent for the future of Islam in Europe? The answer lies in the city itself. Tuzla is not an exception, it is a message. In a continent often described as distant from faith, Tuzla stands as living proof that Islam is not foreign to Europe. It is historical, it is cultural, and it is deeply human. With around 70% of its population Muslim, Tuzla shows that Islam can exist in harmony with modern European values, without conflict, without fear, and without losing its soul. Here, faith does not seek dominance, it seeks balance. Islam in Tuzla is visible in mosques and prayer, but also in kindness, responsibility, and coexistence. It is present in history, alive in the present, and carried forward by the next generation. The story of Tuzla challenges common narratives. It asks us to look beyond headlines and stereotypes and to see reality as it is, not imagined, not feared. Because the future of Islam in Europe is not only being debated in politics or media, it is being lived quietly, daily, and sincerely in cities like Tuzla. And as long as Tuzla stands, one truth remains clear. Islam is not disappearing from Europe. It is part of it.